Okay, the range starts out here. The range clearly can start in close and often does start in close. What we want to focus on here is how do I go from this long range here into executing repeated tertia. Think about to execute repeated tertia, right? To do the act of quartering. Not to assume that we got it in, we started it, but we're out. We're out at range with these weapons. Okay, so here's where we get into some real quick definition of terms, right? The system of repeated tertia, the foundation system of repeated tertia, is predicated on 12 methods called dos métodos. 12 methods. Those 12 methods define every manner and method by which this weapon particularly can be used to fight. Every part of the anatomy is covered, every strategy can be used, every tactic that is covered by those 12 methods. Right? It's a protracted study of the system. Anything from the spine of the blade to the short edge in here, the full edge of the blade, the recurved edge on the end of the inunti. Into the puño, all parts into the punta. Right? So the system is predicated on this. We're going to start right away into the first strategy that comes out of repeated tertia is footwork. So the principle, right? Let's define principle here. What's a principle? It's a basic, accepted generalization that can act as the basis for our reasoning and our conduct. It's a basic, general, accepted idea that acts as, okay, well, this informs how I'm going to think and how I'm going to act. For example, Christian principles. For example, mathematical principles. All those things inform how we act and how we think. So the principle here is, this end is pointy, this is sharp. So that if I go in, this is going to go through you. If I touch you with this is going to cut you. It's very simple, it's not complicated. The principle is that this will run you through, or this will cut you. So we need principles now inform strategy. The strategies are those plans of action. Am I following? Yeah, okay. The strategies are the plans of action that are based on what's the principle we're talking about. The principle is a weapon. Okay? That's much different than this. Okay? The principle there is this is not a bladed weapon. So if we talk about the first strategy, we incorporate the strategy is okay, if you cannot be there when this is coming in at you, what is the basic first strategy? Oh, not complicated. It's elegant, simple, but not complicated. Move. Okay, so we have a strategy now, footwork. Now, since this is bladed, can that strategy be inside? We move. That's not the front that's not strategic movement. Not with this. With this, you can take a couple of blows, you can throw some back, bang, bang, no problem. So we have to now devise tactics. Tactics are the maneuvers that implement the strategy. So the strategy is get out of the way. Our tactics have to be specifically designed to this or this. And then in the end, it will be the empty hand. I'm going to borrow like what our friend Simeon was talking about, what they call the transferable technology, or the parallel methodology of Filipino martial arts, which are one of the only martial arts that still retain this manner of training because they emphasize the weapon. So the idea is not the tactics are now not only to stay out of the way, you have to move out of the way how? You have to find a way to move that takes you offline of the attack. Okay? So for example, we have what we call a 90-degree line. If this is coming in 180 degrees, straight line, we move 90. That's one. That is the tactic. Move 90 degrees off the line. Here is a technique. Move 90 degrees, sidestep. 90 degrees, range. No, range. Step. Range, focus, step. There's one 90 degrees. Sidestep 90 degrees. Cross step 90 degrees. Those that are illustrative of the tactic of moving out 90 degrees, which enforce the strategy of footwork. You guys see that? Any questions? I know it's a lot. I want to put that out. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to work on footwork right now. Okay. Other thing I want to say is that please use this opportunity today. I've already had this experience. It's been awesome. To look at the different systems and styles where are our areas of commonality? What is it that we're doing where I identify that principle? I recognize that principle. For example, with our friend Cindy and in the group here, talking about training that drill, the counter that cut drill, but putting live energy in. I recognize that. Recognize that as a legitimate, training drill. And most fighting systems that have really seen combat, they will emphasize that as well. Or my friend Sergio. Do the number 2 cuts of the brush. So we have this. I recognize that. I've seen 2 on do that. Probably as a scientist. I'm thinking. I already got it. Right, so you come in here, boom, to the 2, one, 2, boom. And just hammer away, pop, pop, pop. But now we moved in close forward. But look at where I am. Right? And then again, this is FMAs that train the triangle system understand the idea of flanking and quarter. Okay? So these use these opportunities to take your training and say, wow, I recognize that principle, I recognize that technique, I recognize where they're coming from. That's pretty awesome, these arts that we train, Okay, so what I want to do, I have like an hour at least to try to send you out to fight. So what I want to do first is we're going to work on the footwork. So we're going to probably, when we're ready, move out to the patio, please. There's a lot of tactics, not yet. There's a lot of tactics. There are about 8 or 9 basic tactics of the footwork. We don't have time to cover all those. The ones I really want for someone that is just into the system and needs to have some skill, what we call the ranging footwork. The ranging footwork is easily recognizable as the start. You have from your point, your apex here, you have the left and right 45, right? Exact 45 degrees left and right. 90 degrees, and then follow the line to the reverse. Okay? There's the reverse. So I have 45, 45. This foot stays here for now at the apex. This is my compass. This is my anchor. This lets me know, wow, I went 45 degrees. I actually went 45 degrees. I didn't go here shallow. I didn't come up too narrow. I go 90. This is here. Well, I have a measure to begin with to understand what is am I actually moving out 90 degrees? That's what's going to protect me. And then when I reverse back here, I'm oriented still to that apex. I pull out a little bit and step back in. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to hustle the progression up a little bit so we can get to some of the all I'm going to teach you is angle 1 strike and angle 2 strikes. You're going to finish with the thrust. We're going to finish with the first close quarter attack that the system has is the horizontal movement with the blade. So I get in close, and again, this is from something I recognize from Sergi over there, is this close quarter thrust. That thrust cannot be like, wind it up and pull it in. Those thrusts have to be very connected. You gotta shake it. You shake it, but you see what happens is, bang, very close quarter generation of power. These are body mechanics. Simple and basic body mechanics of close quarter fighting. You don't have a lot of place to wind up, time to wind up, or space to wind up. So you'll see a lot of close quarter body mechanics. Very short thrust inside. I'm going to give you that, or you feed them the edge of the blade right there. Okay? Those are going to be your finishing techniques. Once you get into a quarter, we're simply going to hammer down, finish with the thrust, finish with the horizontal movement. He puts his hand up, great, he lost fingers. You want to continue it, remove it, and keep it again. Right? Give him his third eye. Give him that eye.